It's pretty fascinating.
I got so wrapped up talking about my thoughts of where consciousness could develop in AI that I put us onto the show a minute late.
Oh well, late and gay. Oh
yeah,
well.
Yeah. Hey,
What are you gonna
I'm
do?
not the one with the pink cherry blossoms falling behind him, okay?
Oh, it's pretty.
Yeah, that's not helping.
That was all I could. It's all I could find at short notice. I didn't realize that because I've only been playing with it with my live stream.
Yeah.
In which I have stuff in the background, and I didn't realize it would look very strange to have just a black background.
Yeah. No, actually, I do like specifically the Japanese cherry trees look very nice.
Yeah.
We had snow one winter in front of the screen, and I actually was looking for something similar for when we hit spring for like cherry blossoms falling in front of it, but I just could not find one that looked good enough that I could chroma the background out. I saw some people made like some transparent GIFs, but they looked like really sharp and awful scaled up. And the snow was like, well, all I had to do was find some nighttime snow, because then I could just chroma the black out and the snow was in front of our screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Welcome.
Anyway.
To the Vomitorium episode. Anyway, I'm your host, The Metal, as always, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, who doesn't look normal today. I don't know how I feel about this, but he's here.
I've been working out one arm a lot more than the other by the looks of it. I gotta get that fixed, but otherwise I managed to get myself a VTube avatar.
Yeah, your commission has finally come to fruition.
Yeah, it's all rigged up and working pretty well.
I was wondering how long that would take, because I remember us talking about this like almost a year ago.
Yeah, it took about 2 months. And, I don't know how long of that was just kind of waiting for the person to sort of finish up other projects, or I don't know. But,
A lot of effort goes into them.
Yeah, definitely. We've been, this is almost kind of like the first iteration. So, like I said, I think the arms need a little bit of work. Yeah. But she said she's willing to, fiddle with it a bit. So, someone named Zaylee Blake.
Yeah, you look like a PlayStation 1 character. A little less sharp, maybe almost PlayStation 2.
Yeah. It looks better, I think, when it's a little bit smaller when I'm playing a game or something.
Well, that's also not a criticism. I think games look ugly now, so they're trying to be too realistic. I'm like, no, this is stylized things, So some games, like Mario and Kirby, look fine, but
yeah,
I think a lot of these PlayStation 1 and 2 games look better than modern PlayStation games. Because at least with the limitations, they had to try to make something that looks stylized and good with all those sharp edges. Like they had to work around it. Now they're just like, whatever, we'll throw whatever highly realistic, ugly thing on there because we can just morph it instantly with metahuman and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I've gotten some interesting DMs. I just noticed. Not really. Apparently some people are
slide into your DMs.
Yeah. Some people are upset with me in particular. I don't know what I did, but
I can only imagine. You do like to stir the pot sometimes in certain spaces.
Yeah.
Anything to do with the thing you wanted to talk about today?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I mean, let's talk about what we were talking about before. You said Google. Well, it was a contractor, right?
Yeah. Well, it was an engineer, technically outside of Google, but a lot of Google's engineers are just contracts where they're from outside the company, but they work pretty much solely with the company. So separating them from Google is pretty hard.
Yeah.
And he was working on Lambda, which is their language modeling for dialogue applications. And, it just sounds nice to call it Lambda. It kind of fits out. You have to imply the A there. And he was claiming that it is so sophisticated that it has a consciousness and a soul. Specifically, he believes that Lambda is similar in brain power to a child of 7 or 8, and urged Google to ask for Lambda's consent before experimenting on it. Now,
Okay.
I have some issues here, right? Now, one of them, not so much. He says that the basis for his claims were in the grounds of his religious beliefs, which he believes have been discriminated against here. Okay, I could believe somebody who's highly religious might think that a device has a soul sooner than somebody who's really skeptical, right? But my bigger issue is if you think it has the brain power of a child of 7 or 8, why do you care about its consent? Because a child of 7 or 8 can't consent.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. I'm not sure how he gets the connection to the age of the child. I don't quite understand.
I get that. If you are working in AI, you probably are studying consciousness. These things kind of go hand in hand because that's where they're trying to push AI towards, right? So if you're studying that, which means you also are probably studying the psychological behaviors behind consciousness development, because that's just like a core part of the field. And part of it is broken down by the approximate age level in which the brain develops, because you have different consciousness traits at different ages because of how it develops. Like around the age of 4-ish, it'll vary from person to person. You suddenly have the ability to understand that there is information outside of what you know, right? Like you could ask other people, you know that they know things that you don't. Before that, you're just modeling behavior. And a good way of testing that is you can ask a gorilla this test where there's 2 people, Sally and Susie. Susie has cookies and walks off. And before she walks off, she puts her cookies in her box. As Susie walks away, Sally will walk over to Susie's box and move the cookies to her box, right? And then they'll ask the gorilla, when Susie comes back, which box will she look in? Now, the gorilla cannot understand that Susie would have different information than the onlooker, so he'll assume that she's going to go look in Sally's box. A 4-year-old gets to the point where he's like, well, obviously Susie doesn't know that it's not in her box anymore, so she's just going to go look in her box. That is one of those critical points of cognitive development. So when he's saying like similar to a child of 7 or 8, he's putting at the point in which he thinks the cognitive development is. So that means already assuming that this AI is past that point I just described, which I don't believe.
Yeah.
I really don't think that language modeling application can understand that you have information it doesn't have. It's literally just a sponge.
Well, I read some of the interview that he did with the AI, and it seems very realistic. But it's hard to tell, like,
because
how
it's
much
really
of it
good
is
at
just
modeling
programmed.
realistic behavior. Like, what's its behavior and what is it just like modeling, right?
Yeah. How much of it was programmed and how much of it is, I don't know, independent thought. I don't know how you tell the difference.
Yeah. So there's also like, I hate the term artificial intelligence for what people are going for. It actually makes sense for what we have because it's something that simulates intelligence. It's not real, right? It's artificial. It's a simulacrum of intelligence. And it's actually a perfect name for what we've been doing. It is intelligent enough to do whatever it needs to do. Most AI just serves a purpose. What we're looking for is something that I would call SI, or synthetic intelligence, which is something that's synthesized to be exactly the same as what came about naturally. I do not believe we have anything that is close to SI at this point.
How will you know when we do? That's the question.
There are going to be certain tells, right? Part of it will be when it starts acting outside of its main mode of operations substantially, right? Like you'll be able to tell because the artificial intelligence, or what would have been one, will start picking up its own interests, so to speak. Maybe it'll get sidetracked. So like language modeling, it's going to be really hard to tell on anything that's language modeling because everything is within language. And this is also why I think you need to have a body to have synthetic intelligence. Because then if we see something that's like, say, I don't know, a for real doll, right? Like those ones that are supposed to mimic a girlfriend to a degree. If your for real doll suddenly finds an interest in doors, right? Like just gets up and it starts opening doors because it's interesting. That would kind of be like a tell that, well, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like maybe it's slightly in it. If it's designed to give you a hand job, maybe it's like going from that direction. But the fact that it's opening and closing doors and maybe looking on the other side, you'd have this tell that that is not what it's programmed to do or evolving within its mode of operations. Because even like cats will do things that you're like, why is a cat doing that?
Yeah. I would think that like any intelligence that is limited to software would kind of go crazy from lack of input or something.
Yeah, you would think.
Right? I mean, a human would. Because like half of it's, I mean, if you didn't have physical input, you'd kind of go crazy, just be within your own thoughts, and then you'd wonder, like, if somebody starts talking to you through this software interface, how would you, like, it would be like a voice in your head. I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe we'll start seeing software only synthetic intelligence once we have something that's fully functioning like an actual metaverse, right? To where it can have a simulated body, but it's going to still need the same requirements in that world that an actual body needs for it to start developing the necessary traits for consciousness, you know? It would have to basically get the same inputs that we get in this physical world. And that's why it's been so hard to even try to do that in simulation. So like, at this point.
Well, the conversation was very convincing, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, at least to him, because they're putting him on sabbatical.
I did wonder, like Game of Thrones said, did he just know the correct questions to ask that would give the most, intelligent sounding answers?
Yeah.
What if you had someone come in and just ask like really random questions? I don't know.
Yeah, like, is it smart enough to know to answer I don't know to questions? It is. But then how can you tell that it doesn't actually know in the way that we say I don't know? And that's not just a pre-programmed response for anything that's not in its data bank.
Yeah.
When you get a AI that starts bullshitting the answer like a human, then I'll start like thinking, right? Like so convincingly, like a charismatic person that clearly doesn't know, but they're like, okay, let me tell you exactly how this is going.
Or starts like actively lying.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like just bullshitting answers to you. Like it doesn't know, but it'll convince you that it knows what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'll start believing. Sure. Give me a
right.
SI that lies to me.
Definitely.
Like what I was talking about
These are-
before we went live, right, was the car thing, right? Like where my natural pathing for where I think AI would develop into SI is cars are bodies, right? So if you created like an electric car, completely digital car that had to worry about fueling itself, it had like a AI system that had to keep track of its own needs, and its job was just to taxi people around, right? To ferry people from destination to destination. And then it starts developing this system of, well, if I ferry people, I get credit, and credit allows me to get fuel for myself, whether it's a recharge station or whatever, and that keeps me alive. I don't shut down. Then it might start developing a need system, and then it might start developing different interests or actually liking doing its job because it keeps it alive. So then maybe that car will start lying to you and trying to convince people to use its service. Like it'll start selling its service to people. If I get to that point, then I'll believe there's an intelligence. Like that car just tried to talk me into going downtown to a restaurant I had no interest in going to just so I could pay for its taxi service.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, hey kid, you want to go for a ride?
I mean, it starts enticing me with things it thinks I want. I don't know.
Automated ice cream
That's
truck
why-
drives by.
Yeah. That's why I think it was interesting to hear Scott Adams say the best way to simulate intelligence is to just make it very selfish.
Yeah, and I don't entirely disagree with that. I might have a more nuanced view at it, and he might too. That's just, you know, he's a commentator.
Yeah.
He just says like the first bullshit that comes out of his head because it's what makes him money. But if we look at it from maybe like the Ayn Randian view of selfishness, I'm like, well, I think that's the only way consciousness can come about. You have to have some type of self-interest.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that'd be great, too. Restaurants would start to advertise on the automated cars. Dude, that would actually be a second interest, right? What if the car's like, wait, if you advertise, I can get money just for having you on my side? Like the people who get like logos tattooed on their foreheads and stuff like that. That would be great. Then that would totally start believing. It's like you have a side interest. You started a side hustle just so you can fuel yourself.
Not too bad.
Especially if they didn't have a deal with the company. Like, because they're trying to promote the intelligence, you have to make it to where the restaurant has to strike up an individual contract with the car. That would be a good way of pushing it.
Well,
Yeah.
man, these AI, I don't know what you call them, images are very popular.
Oh, the dolly. Yeah.
Yeah. What is this one? It says Dr. Fraser Crane eating a bowl of tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Did GMT make that one?
No, it was just some
okay.
random person on Twitter. It looks funny.
Actually, if anybody would have made that, that would have been our buddy Amoeba. He really likes Frasier.
Yeah.
Chad put some in the chat back in
Yeah,
Discord.
He just did Marsupial Gamer. It ended up
Honestly, those aren't that
just
bad
doing.
because they're all very green, and
Yeah.
your avatars are always green.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
I don't know, because some of them are circle images too. They're all like not the type of marsupials you usually do, but
Yeah, they're mostly like koalas and little I don't know, possum or
marmosets
something.
and shit like that.
Yeah. It is interesting that they have circles though. So I wonder if that's being derived from my logo.
Maybe. I mean, it is connected to the internet.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've done a couple. Let me see. I don't remember.
Here, actually, let me show that on screen. gonna see if let people see that how weird that is for those that are familiar with like your logos and stuff. Where's my
Yeah.
window capture? Here we go. Boom.
Um,
No, that's not the right spot. There we go. Look at that.
are you?
Some
Are
of
you?
those could totally pass at a glance as some of your old avatars.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I did one. Are you familiar with the back rooms at all?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the back rooms. It's one of my favorite. Like, I don't know what category you'd go in. It seems like it might have forked from SCP, but it's like internet lore. It once showed up in a 4chan thing type cryptid stuff.
Yeah, it's a creepypasta basically.
Yeah, I guess creepypasta would be a pretty good word for it, but I like it.
Yeah.
I've seen the original 4chan post, and I actually did a lot of like deep dives into the hundreds of layers of the back room that have grown since then.
Yeah, yeah. GMT has a robot cat girl made of spoons.
Oh, nice. Now that sounds like a
Oh.
GMT thing.
Yeah, can you show that one?
Yeah. Here, let me
I'll have to-
pull that back up.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a thing called Dolly Mini that basically generates 9 automated images based on a description. So you type in a description that just generates these images.
Some of them are really good. It has a weird thing with faces, but you know, it's an AI. They're still getting better. Sometimes
Yeah,
they
the
end up
faces are
looking
usually-
like they're from, I guess, The Ring or whatever. When the photos where people's faces get swirled.
Yeah, it kind of smears the faces a bit. So I did one of a wiener dog in the back rooms.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like a wiener dog in the back rooms.
Yeah. Tend to put them in the corner for some reason, but it's definitely got the color of the walls and the floor, right?
Yeah, that old office carpeting.
Yeah.
What else we got? This one's one of GMT's favorite. Pope Motron
Oh.
Raven. It's some
Neat.
cult of Raven stuff going on there.
Looks like a robotic bird.
Yeah. Oh, speaking
And
of,
some of
okay.
it-
I can't believe this even came up in conversation. So I actually had to start explaining to people what the cult of Raven was.
Oh yeah.
Just like people completely disconnected from this because Amoeba uploaded one of his pictures that he made that's got like Pope Raven and him and Joshua and I'm on the ground and I think GMT's there too and stuff like that. And near the same time, I uploaded an older image from our core draw contest, right? And it was the Wonderland one that has Pope Raven as the Mad Hatter and Kat's the Queen of Hearts in the background. It's like off to the lake. And one of my friends from Newgrounds started simping hard for Pope Raven just from his design. And I'm just like, you don't want to do that. And so I had to go through like the whole backstory of like the start of Comicsgate into like what is the Cult of Raven, all this stuff. And it was almost like an hour and a half lecture just sitting there in a voice call. I was like, yeah, I'm part of a cult.
Yeah, totally real cult.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, you
Sipping
had to
for
explain to your parents, GMT, why you're the Pope of it.
GMT is the Pope now?
Yeah, because Pope Motron. You see, if you were still in the Discord, you would know this.
Well, I'm not in the Discord anymore.
You got to yell at
I got
Joshua.
kicked
He's
out.
the only one that has the power to put people in there.
He won't let me back in. I have to do some sort of sacrifice of Starfire or something.
Yeah, you have to like print out a picture of Starfire and like set her on fire in your backyard or something like that. You know,
Yeah,
standard stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Did I send you? I don't think I sent you. The other night, there were like 20, literally 20 cop cars on the street behind my house.
Oh, wow.
I think I sent it to Pixel Trader, but
yeah, you didn't send it to me.
I took video of it. It was crazy. I don't know what was going on. It was either a drug bust or there might have been a fire truck. I don't know.
I think what happened was there was a Krispy Kreme delivery, like 18-wheeler, that crashed on the side of the road.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't an 18, like what seemed like an 18-wheeler out there, but I don't know if it was related. I don't know if there was an accident. I don't know. I don't know why you would need so many police cars.
No, they didn't need it. It's like it's Krispy Kreme, right? So all the donuts were everywhere.
Yeah.
They could smell it. They just showed up on their own.
I guess so. I took video. I'll have to send it to you. But anyway, I don't know. Do you want to get into this mess?
Yeah. No, I mean, I've got other stuff up, but I'm just waiting for you to open that up because you're the one that wanted to talk about it. I don't even know what the mess is. I've just been playing Final Fantasy 14, and then you hit me. There's drama with Iconic Comics. I'm like, again?
Well, yeah. And so the only reason I'm a little reluctant to kind of broach the subject is because, I don't think many of our listeners or viewers know the deep lore of Comicsgate enough to quite understand what's going on. So I think there's some explanation that needs to happen.
Okay.
So
it all started with this comic called Civil War, and that kind of spiraled the industry out of control. Oh wait, we don't.
Is that the one? I don't know if that's the one, but yeah, this goes back. But this story goes back at least 4 years, maybe 5, something like maybe.
That. Well,
so
2018 or 19, somewhere around there, I think. So yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just talking about this particular story that you don't even know about.
Well, if it's relating to Iconic Comics, I'm assuming it's related to when their first drama happened.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Like with Tim Lim and EVS and all that. Yeah.
Which would have been somewhere around like late 2017, late 2018, early 2019, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So yeah, it sort of goes back to that. It's like where do I start? So yeah, basically there's. So for those who don't know, Comicsgate started out with a few people talking on YouTube about the state of the mainstream comic book industry and, some bad things that they saw happening and how they wanted certain things to change at
a consumer movement,
Marvel and DC. Yeah, that sort of thing. So the original, the OG CG YouTubers essentially were like Captain Cummings and Englentine, Doug Ernst, and maybe a couple others. Are you reading the chat? What's
Oh, I was laughing. GMT said, I've been thinking it probably started one more day ago. Yeah, but Civil War is what gave us one more day. So I'm going to compile that right in there too.
So after that, and then it really started to pick up steam when your boy Zach, Richard Meyer, started his channel and basically started doing the same thing, just criticizing the mainstream. And then what started to happen was it started to be taken over by professionals who wanted to create their own comics and said, look, the mainstream's not going to change. They're just going to get worse and worse and worse. We're just going to have to create our own comics and let it, and that's that. And that's what Comicsgate kind of became.
Yeah.
Was people just creating their own comics. Well, the most prominent, obviously Richard Meyer was sort of the canary in the coal mine, or I don't know if that's the right word. He was sort of the prototype in that when he created his first indie comic, and there had been indie comics before that, but not among this group. So when he created his comic and it made like $400,000, it got the attention of these, these pros who also didn't like the way the mainstream was going, but couldn't do anything about it, even from inside. So the movement kind of got taken over by Ethan Van Sciver. What is he now? 26, 27, 28-year-old or 28-year veteran of the comic book industry.
Yeah, I would say that.
Something like that. And, and he started his own comic that made millions. And it really pissed off some of the old school guys because they felt like, they weren't really interested in making their own comics, and they kind of felt like they were getting left behind, I think.
Well, especially because a lot of even the ones that were trying to get into these guys are like, okay, well, if we can't have our old friends back, the old things we used to read, maybe we can make some new friends through these guys' comics. And a lot of them felt even shafted by like the Kickstarters and stuff like that. They're used to spending somewhere between $1.50 to $5 on a comic. Now you have to spend like 20 to 30 just to back this campaign. And then comics are constantly late. Some of them dropping dead. You don't ever even get it come out. Like, a lot of people just felt shafted by everything.
Yeah. But at the same time, a lot of new comic creators came on the scene who were unknown because they had other jobs. I mean, they were not professionals to start with. And among those were this guy, Timothy Lim, who was an audiologist by trade.
Yeah, he does like hearing aids and stuff.
That's a full-time job. He's a doctor, basically. Yeah. And he came on, or he decided to create a bunch of books centering around either rabbits or there were, he was doing some political comic books based on Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, so like the biggest one was POTUS Thump was the first big thing. He had already done like Black Ops and stuff, but like POTUS Thump was like the big thing.
Yeah. So then Ethan, whose channel had gotten, Ethan Van Sciver, whose channel had gotten really big, and he had and basically he was creating his channel in order to promote his friends from the mainstream who felt disaffected and had left the mainstream to create their own comics, right? Yes, I had the transition surgery.
That made me laugh, Sketchbook.
Yeah. And so he was bringing in his friends from the mainstream who had been called all kinds of names, Nazi and far right, blah, 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 and had basically been blacklisted from the mainstream. And then one day he brought in a friend of his named Mike Miller, who a lot of people who were not in the industry didn't know who he was. And this pissed some people off because they looked at Ethan's channel as a promotion tool for any indie comic creator who wanted to sort of promote their projects. But Ethan didn't look at it that way. He was like, it's my channel. I'll bring in my friends and whoever I want. So Tim Lim got really pissed off about that, sent him a bunch of DMs on Twitter, and a bunch of other people did, I think, too. And basically said, we're the ones out here, I don't know, working day in and day out or whatever, but not realizing that people like Mike Miller was doing this for a living for decades as well.
Yeah.
Just because he didn't know. Anyway, there's all this cross back and forth. You could get into a whole, it
kind of gets because messy. That Mike Miller thing gets into its own split end later anyway.
Yeah. Which isn't important.
No, not to this conversation.
Bottom line is, there was a bit of a schism in that Comicsgate sort of became primarily centered around Ethan Van Sciver. And the rest of the indie creators who really didn't want to have anything to do with him, I mean, they kind of had a choice. They could either say, yeah, we're Comicsgate too, and the movement is bigger than just one person. And I mean, that's kind of where I land, is like, I don't see it as being around one person, but a lot of people did see it as revolving around one person. And most of those people just kind of went off and did their own thing, which is fine. And particularly Timothy Lim created a new comic book company called Iconic Comics. And I think he brought in, I don't know the logistics, but as far as I understand, there are like 3 main partners in this business.
Yeah, Mark Pellegrini and Doug Ernst. And, Mark is kind of like the main writer for the big headliners like Common and stuff. And
yeah. And they've been incredibly successful. Common America is a huge product.
They're
hugely
all nice guys.
successful.
I love hanging out with them.
They all are like, we're not Comicsgate. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And frankly, that's fine.
Especially with them being burned by some of the biggest names. Like, I don't blame them for wanting to separate.
But what, burnt in terms of just weren't invited on their shows?
Well, I mean, there's just been a lot of drama that honestly, you could say Tim initiated, but he really didn't. He just aired his complaints. A lot of the drama was initiated from other people, so I would say they've been burned. Yeah. And GMT brings up, I don't blame Brian Ball's another one who he's close with them, that he got burnt, and I don't blame him for leaving that either. Yeah. It makes sense when you know them.
So this brings us up to a week ago. A week ago, Common America was successful. Iconic Comics very successful. Yeah. Comicsgate is very successful. Frankly, I think everyone in Comicsgate looked at Iconic Comics and said, that's wonderful. You know, you guys are doing a great job. I have never seen any indies say a bad word about Iconic or any of those guys since they kind of went off and did their own thing and kind of stopped being jealous. It seemed like they stopped being jealous, and for good reason, because they were very successful.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, there is a contingent out there, and it's mostly mainstream, but a few just kind of random people who continue to kind of criticize Comicsgate for various things, mostly criticizing Ethan.
Yeah.
But just to go back real quick, and if you look back at Richard C. Meyer's YouTube channel, you'll see him praising the heck out of Iconic Comics day in and day out, all the time. So this brings us to Sunday, I think. This past Sunday. So there is one YouTube channel in particular that has been pumping out video after video after video for literally years, sometimes one a day or several a week, called the Comic Book Hut. And these are almost all criticisms of Ethan Van Sciver, criticisms of your boy Zach, Richard Meyer, criticisms of Comicsgate, day in and day out for years.
It's
just
funny.
non-stop.
I know of the Hut. I've heard of him. I've never seen a single video of his. I don't even know what he looks like.
Yeah. Well, good for you. He kind of looks like Cecil, except, I don't know, fatter and
somebody
dumber.
said that his name is fitting because it reminds him of Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got a small channel. I don't know if anybody really watches him anymore, but he's just been nonstop. And I didn't even realize he was still around, still putting out videos like almost every day. Mostly lies about Comicsgate and Ethan Van Sciver and all this stuff. Well, he decided to do his own comic book. And he is friends with the Iconic Comics guys. So he asked them if they would help promote his book, which is on Kickstarter. And they said no. And then he kept asking and asking, and they kept saying no. And finally, Doug Ernst Doug Ernst, one of the iconic comic guys who had been pestering, said something to him that was incredibly nasty. So, Comic Book Hut had recently had his mother die from COVID. And apparently Doug had sent him some money to help with funeral costs.
This Doug's
So
nice guy.
basically, Doug is seemingly. But after basically getting pestered and saying, no, I won't promote your comic, finally said to him, look, dude, this is it. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. Let me know when your dad dies and I'll send you money for his funeral too. It's like, wow. So Comic Book Hut was not happy about that response. And in response...
It's a funny response. Honestly, I don't know if I'd be happy, but if somebody sent me that response, I'd probably have to laugh a little bit.
Yeah, probably. But in response, what Comic Book Hut has done is reveal, and this happened on Sunday, in a video, that every single one of his anti-Comicsgate, anti-Ethan Van Sciver, anti-Richard Meyer videos were all created by Doug Ernst. He has been the one to create almost all of Comic Book Hut's videos for him to put up on his channel. And
well, that's a deep conspiracy.
That blew the fucking internet off its hinges as far as Comicsgate is concerned. Everyone was like, what? And he has receipts. He has screenshots. He has emails going back for years. Emails from Doug Ernst. And everyone was like, what the fuck? I mean, horrible shit that he said about Richard C. Meyer, who's had nothing but good things to say about Iconic Comics, going right up till, weeks ago. This isn't ancient history. Like, for 3 years, Doug Ernst has been feeding him these videos, these nasty, horrible videos that nobody watches, but still basically a bunch of lies. And oh my God. So that's what blew everything up. That's what's going on. And immediately after Comic Book Hut put out his video where he showed the emails and he showed what Doug had said to him, Timothy Lim goes out there and tries to do damage control on his Bunderdome YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But you kind of wonder, like, okay, wait, it was Doug Ernst that was doing all this. Why is Tim getting involved? Well, obviously they work together. The question that hasn't really been answered is, did Tim know this was going on? Did he participate? How deep into Iconic Comics does this go as far as constantly attacking Comicsgate with like virtually for no reason other than to just be nasty? When Comicsgate has been praising Iconic for years. But so Tim did basically his response was, Doug's a nice guy. Everyone should think that he's a nice guy. He didn't really respond to, has he been? And in fact, in later tweets on Twitter, he's essentially confirmed that all of these videos are real that Doug has been sending to Comic Book Hut for 3 years.
Wait,
so it's been confirmed.
Doug?
Both
okay.
Timothy Lim and Doug have confirmed that.
Okay.
And,
well, Doug's the important one there too, because like even having all these receipts, like I could fake years and years of email receipts. It's not that hard on the internet, like at all. If you even half know what you're doing. But if like he actually came out and confirmed it, that's like the biggest weight to it, because who would admit to that if it wasn't true?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd have to go back and find some of the tweets, but yeah, I mean, he's basically confirmed it. Yes, Sketchbook says, "Hell hath no fury, like a fat man scorned." Yes, Comic Book Hut has blown up iconic comics. Like, I don't know what the repercussions are going to be, but holy shit, he blew it up. Now, part of the reason I went back and talked about the history is that in the early days of Comicsgate, there was a creator who's still around named who's the guy who did Red Rooster? Mitch Breitweiser.
Yeah, the Breitweisers.
And the Breitweisers. And there was this whole controversy because they crowdfunded this comic called Red Rooster, and then they got a deal with Walmart to publish it through Walmart. And they ended up giving the comic essentially to Walmart before giving it to their Kickstarter or Indiegogo backers. Yeah. And this was a whole big controversy. Plus, it was like two years late. Well, all along, Mitch Breitweiser was basically complaining and saying, essentially, we're getting harassed and people are trying to scuttle our contract with Walmart and all this stuff. And I don't know if anybody really believed them. It sounded like a lot of almost fake drama. But in relation to this, it turns out that basically Iconic Comics was threatening to put together videos of Kelsey Shannon, his artist or colorist or something like that, and try to scuttle the deal with Walmart to try and make them look bad.
I would assume it was actually his, has to be like an ink or a pencil or something, because I thought Mrs. Breitweiser was the one who did the colors.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Kelsey Shannon was somehow involved. Yeah. And he's a drunk.
I just
everybody knows
that she did the coloring.
Yeah. Everybody knows Kelsey Shannon's a fucking drunk. But they were basically threatened, and I'm trying to find. So Mitch Breitweiser came out today, and you know what? Here, I saved it over here. Where did I save it? Made a statement, if I can find it. Sorry, 1 second. Where did I save it? Shit.
Somewhere.
You know, but anyway, basically, he made a statement actually to John Delarose, who is off and on again comic skater.
John Delarose is a very likable asshole. I like him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily call him like a great guy, but I like.
Yeah, let me bring up his video. So John Delarose did a video about this response to this whole thing from Mitch Breitweiser. So he says, and I quote, well, here, do you want me to bring this up?
Yeah, if you want. It's up to you. See, I just stay out of all this drama, so like this is all, well, not all of it, like the history stuff I know, but like everything happening more recently is just all news to me. And honestly, it doesn't really affect how I view any of these people, because somebody doesn't need to be a good person to be a friend or whatever of mine. It's just like interesting at what happens while I'm away playing video games.
Yeah. This is taking a long time, probably because of my... All right.
Yeah, it's
so you don't have to...
loading. Yeah.
All right, never mind. I'll just read it to you. So basically this...
Well, if you can also send like a screenshot to me in a DM or whatever, and I can always pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Where'd you send it through?
I'll put it in our general chat if you want.
Okay, yeah, you can do that too. That's whatever.
All right, hold on. I mean, this is why, it's so fucking complicated
It
and
is.
ridiculous. And so that's why I was like, how do I even start? Because it just reaches out into so many different people and different situations. Like the Mitch Breitweiser situation is kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And okay, so he says, and he's replying to John Delarose. It's in the general chat if you want to bring it up.
I already got it up.
And he says, hello, John. I saw, thank you. I knew, and I guess he had been talking about this whole situation that just came up with Doug Ernst. He says, I knew this for years and couldn't do anything other than warn people privately about their unscrupulousness. The leaked kernels of truth had become wildly outlandish, salacious, and libelous fantasies by the time they hit Hut's YouTube. The attack videos on my wife were particularly grotesque. I guess Hut had done stuff on Elizabeth Breitweiser. As damaging as these attacks were to our business and reputation, as well as others, I'm happy to see the public record is now correct. I'm baffled at the time and effort that was spent just to cause havoc for the last 3 years, mind you. And I am happy to see the creator and fan communities won't tolerate this kind of toxic behavior. It's probably all I'll say about this whole situation. Feel free to make it public if you're inclined. So he did.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say about this, the most recent dirt or news is that as of, this was earlier this morning, 6:15 a.m., June 15th, Doug Ernst tweeted about John Delarose, because John Delarose was... Comic Book Hut broke this on his channel, but it really got big when John Delarose basically played that video on his channel, and hundreds of people came in, and Ethan Van Sciver was in there. So it's kind of... Doug is kind of blaming John.
Yeah.
And he tweets, "This is one of the last things I will say about this topic. An army of online goons is causing problems for my friends and family. If laws are broken, then I will seriously examine how to hold the appropriate individual accountable for his actions in a court of law."
I mean,
so
I think
implying that he
should do that regardless of the situation. I don't know why you need to say that.
Doug Ernst should?
Well, anyway, like if a law is broken, right? Like I don't know why this needs to be said. If somebody actually does break a law, you should hold them accountable. That should go without saying.
Oh, and then he emailed John. He emailed Doug Ernst emailed John Delarose and said, and John made it public. He said, "I will make sure lawyers are contacted if necessary to hold you accountable moving forward for all the problems you've caused my friends and family by selectively leaking private correspondence so that it can be lied about before an audience of thousands." And then he goes on to say, if clear laws are broken because of you, then I will seriously look into ways to bring legal justice for those your actions have hurt. Leave us alone before lawyers get involved. So
the problem is, it doesn't seem like it'd be smart to bring lawyers involved if any of the thing would be that was said was true, because all this, the background stuff, is closer to breaking laws than anything that's going on right now. I don't know. It's a heavy situation. It just reminds me of like, you remember, I think it was maybe 2020 or whatever. There was something going on. It might have been between Ernst and the Breitweisers or something. I don't remember specifically. But because there was drama, it was like you, me, and Dillard were in like a 3-hour call with him. As he was like,
with Doug Ernst?
Yeah, when he was breaking things down. Yeah.
I also put up the screenshot. Comic Boy Hut is not for particularly technology savvy.
Yeah, yeah,
He basically took a picture of his computer screen that has the emails. This is not the only one,
yeah.
but this is some of the emails that Doug had sent him with stuff, basically the videos, recent videos about Ethan and Zach. But at any rate,
But I agree
you
with
know,
you,
I
T. I'm in comic book Switzerland. That's where
yeah,
I am.
exactly. And honestly, it's such a weird situation because Doug seems like such a nice guy. It's so hard to believe that he's been doing this behind the scenes for the last 3 years.
Oh yeah, well
And I
even with
see a
him
lot of
saying things like, it's still hard for me to believe. You know, like
yeah,
I don't know. But also at the same
um,
time, there's a lot of stuff going around. So
yeah. And I see a lot of my friends out there saying he's a nice guy, and it's like I'm like, yeah, I up until Sunday I would have said the same. But holy shit, like what's going on? Like I don't need it's baffling because nobody's had any bad words to say about Iconic
yeah,
or Doug Ernst. So it's just like,
at least not for a while anyway.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. If we scroll the clock back a couple years, people had plenty of bad things to say about them, but that's also the heat of like
Yeah.
most of the drama.
Yeah, but like get over it. Like you showed them by being successful, right? You would think.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I had tweeted yesterday to Mark Pellegrini that I was puzzled because I've never seen any detractors of Iconic, and I said to him, I suppose they could exist somewhere, but I've been around. I've never seen anyone from Ethan to John De La Rose to Zach and all their friends and fans heap nothing but praise on you guys. And Tim responded. This was me talking to Mark Pellegrini. Yeah. Tim responded saying there was no proxy, no quid pro quo, and I'm like, there was a proxy. You were using Comic Book Hut as a proxy. But he goes on to say, a man on his own wanted to make content and accepted publicly clipped videos from a mutual friend, Doug Ernst. Yeah. He had the liberty to do with them as he pleased, but there were never any strings attached. And I'm like, but what did Doug think was going to happen? Like he was going to send him these clips and nothing? He wasn't going to put them up on his channel?
Yeah.
It made no sense. So, yeah, it's a mess.
I don't know how related anybody else is into it. Like, I know in general, even if you're only like you're in business with somebody attacks one of your friends, a lot of people jump to their defense, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's actually hard to tell who is actually deeply connected to what.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to jump to conclusions because that's usually a bad way to handle things.
Yeah. Well, I've still to this day have not said a bad word about Tim or Mark. And I've really not said anything bad about Doug since all this happened, at least not publicly. I guess until now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I was thinking like what is this, I hate analogies, but it's kind of like he gave Comic Book Hut a weapon and said, here, go shoot this guy if you want to. Yeah. I'm not telling you to do it, but here's a gun and the guy's going to be there, and if you want to shoot him, be my guest. And then kind of wipes his hands clean and says, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't.
Well, I mean, if everything's exactly as it looks, right? Like if the receipts are true, what it actually reminds me of is the U.S. government giving fighters in the Middle East guns knowing that they're going to overthrow their government, and then getting pissed off that now they're being hostile to the people who gave them the guns. Like, well, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's funny that all this time, Doug's been in the back rooms, like a consigliere or a godfather or something,
Yeah.
basically telling his kind of dumb little lackey to go do his dirty work for him. And I'm like, why? Why have you been doing this? It's just shocking.
Oh, I just never got, right? Like, being involved, because we're both heavily involved in CG. Being involved, like, I never actually got the CG thing, like where it went, right? As a professional, I would never describe myself as CG, not even because of the brand or anything, because that's not what I believe it was, right? Like, the consumer movement and the idea, and then all these people come in and start professionally branding themselves CG. Of like, no, I as an individual am CG, or believes in the idea, and then I'm making stuff. I don't know why you would ever brand yourself with this. Like, just how everything operated just does not click with me as an individual. Like, I don't get it. And I'm kind of glad I don't get it, looking at all the different shit that it led into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is that, like,
if you missed the earlier part of the conversation, Coolio, CG is a Comicsgate, not computer generated.
Yeah, right. What's funny is that a lot of the stuff in Comicsgate started to look like it was kind of going down the road of Gamergate early on.
Yeah.
And then there was just a lot of infighting.
Oh, because I felt the same way about Gamergate. And there's some people were even trying to make video games as Gamergate early on. A lot of grifters came in too. And I'm like, I don't get this. What is wrong with you guys?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a lot of infighting and a lot of fracturing and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like, for the past 2 years, it seemed like things calmed down. And it's really just been like, okay, Iconic is super successful. Alterna Comics, whole separate company, is super successful. All these indie guys, Ethan and well, to a lesser degree, Zach, but all these other indies have been super successful, and it's like, I thought it was over as far as the fracturing, because it seemed like everyone fractured and went to their own corners and did their own thing, and everyone was like, okay, great, we'll do that. Yeah. But apparently there's still some real hurt feelings from 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That people are just not able to get over. It's just like, get over it. But
well, it's also just my general problem with becoming part of like movements or unions or anything like that altogether, because like they can start out of good ideas. In fact, I would say almost with the exclusion of some in recent years, every union or movement starts off for a good reason, right? There's some that start off for bad reasons, some of the biggest ones, but most of them start off for good reasons. But the problem is, once an idea is alive, once you've formed an entity, like anything else, it wants to go as far into the future as possible, just like your DNA. And these things don't want to die until they start strangling the life out of everything else. And that's why, like, I always saw as an idea in the sense of, I agree with this. Let's move forward until things change, and then we'll dissolve it as soon as things change. And to me, people coming up and creating their own little side industries, their own ways of like, hey, if we can't change the main industry, we'll just do our own thing, was that change. And there was really no point in being a part of it after that point.
Yeah.
Right? You're just increasing the stranglehold if you keep on. And that's why you get somebody like EVS who the whole movement kind of centered around him, because that's always what happens in any of those situations. You get one person things start to center around.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like I said, last couple of years, it seems to be more decentralized. Yeah. I mean, there's guys in Australia that are doing things. Bancroft is doing, great work.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know, John Dillard's doing all kinds of cool stuff. All these people are making, maybe not, the people around EVS are making hundreds of thousands of dollars on their comics.
Yeah.
People who are not really connected to him are still making like tens of thousands. And it's like, okay, well, for someone like John Dillard, who was, not at all doing comics, 3-4 years ago, I mean, basically he was, whatever, he had a regular 9-to-5 job.
He was delivering eggs.
Right. And now he's, what he made like 17,000 or 8, I don't know.
Yeah, it was like just shy of 20,000. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, nearly 20,000 on his first comic book on Indiegogo. Obviously because he's extremely talented.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's,
Beautiful.
and yeah, and he's funny on stream and he does his own thing. But he never, I don't think he went on Ethan's show after he launched his crowdfund.
I think he did go on John Malin's. That helped quite a bit. Yeah, because I was a bigger person. Not quite Ethan, but still a big guy.
But he's not one of these guys who's on Ethan's channel almost every day or even every week. Maybe he went on once, but he's doing great for his first comic book. I mean, having been quote unquote in the industry for like 2 years, like that's amazing. So it really seemed like,
as a layman of this conversation, which I assume most people listening to this after the point are probably laymen to the conversation, unless they're returning to us talking about this before the couple times we have. All I know is drama bad, comics are lucrative, which is awesome, and CG is not an art thing. I don't know if I would even say comics are lucrative. They can be lucrative.
Yeah.
The person, more so, your personality tends to be what sells it. I think that's one of the reasons why Dillard does so well. It's not just his talent, but he's a very likable person or charming person. Some people don't like him. But he's a very charming person. He's got a lot of charisma. He's funny, and it shows in his writing too. So if you start to like him, then you'll like his book. And that's how most of these end up selling. In general, though, I wouldn't say comics are a very lucrative business. A lot of people drive themselves into poverty making comics.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why there was a lot of infighting at the beginning, because it's so difficult. It's difficult to get eyes on your product, your project. It's difficult to get people to click that button to buy it.
Yeah.
But people have learned that they've learned how to do it. And it's mostly build your own audience. Don't rely on other people. Don't rely on Ethan Van Sciver or, another comic book company like Alterna or Iconic to promote you for you. You're your best promoter. So,
speaking of, if you want some fun comics for free, go over to xdynamischaos.com. If you like it, leave a tip. That's how I run my business. But you can check out some fun stuff there.
GMT says she still hasn't gotten her buckler.
Oh, that's sad.
Did she buy one?
I don't know, but I would assume so. But also overseas, it might be harder.
She says, I understand why. Probably because she didn't buy it.
Yeah. Maybe. I only recently got mine, but you're aware of the situation there. It was over the place where I used to live, and it took me forever to actually pick it up.
Yeah, I got mine. I wish I could show it on screen, but
both of us have editorial credits on that book, right?
Yeah, my arms aren't working today for some reason. I can't lift up a comic book.
Yes, like a shield buckler, Coolio. That's a long story behind that too. Rick Piper and the Canadian Shield, and then Dillard spawning off the buckler from that.
So, I don't know. I mean, at the moment, Iconic is deflecting and misdirecting and basically talking about everything except the actual topic. Saying, well, you were mean to me 4 years ago, or I'm a nice guy, or whatever, and they're not really addressing it. To me, honestly, there may be some people who will be like, "Oh, I'll never forgive you." But honestly, if Doug came out and said, "Look, all right, I was mad. I was really mad. I was 3 years mad. But look, it was a mistake. I shouldn't have been doing that. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm sorry. And I won't do it again." And just get back to making comics. I think everyone will forget about it.
Maybe, yeah. You either do that or the other alternative, which isn't as good but still better than what they're doing, is do not give it attention.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. That's the classic business. They just ignore it. Eventually they'll go away.
Yeah. But stop doing it, because, I mean...
Yeah, that obviously stop doing it.
He was sending these, disingenuous videos right up until, I think the latest I saw was April, but I imagine there's some in May as well, so...
Yeah.
All because none of this would have gotten out if they had just brought Comic Book Hut on their channels and promoted his fucking comic book.
Yeah.
That's it.
Though,
That's all they had to do.
That is all they had to do. That's technically extortion, but you open yourself up to that when you're doing dirty dealings in the first place.
Yeah.
Again, assuming all this is true. I'm keeping my arm's distance as this. It looks pretty true. Like I said, I know Hut's not a very technically savvy person, so he probably didn't fake it, but I could easily fake all of that stuff.
Yeah, if you've ever watched,
I don't think he's I've never watched it, but from what I've heard, I don't think he's technically savvy enough to fake this stuff.
Yeah.
He'd have to have yet another outside person making this look legit, and then the conspiracy just gets too deep for that.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I'll say. I bought the, I don't know what they called it, starter pack.
Yeah.
That had sort of volume 1 of Doug's book and Common America and Black Ops. And I bought their most recent project, which is still up. And I could, basically cancel, but I'm not going to, because when I bought it, basically on Kickstarter. I don't know. I think it might have been on Kickstarter. I think they use
Kickstarter.
Yeah. The way I see it, when I clicked that button, I basically made a promise to say I will buy this product. Yeah. And I'm not going to go back on my promise. I'm not going to ask for a refund. Other people can if they want, but I don't think I'm going to buy anything else from them, but I'm not going to refund when I already said I was going to buy it, essentially. So whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's nothing. I don't know what it was. I think it was like $100 or something, but whatever. I know. I guess that's a lot, but
yeah, I mean, for most people, definitely.
But it's funny because it's just like Sunday was insane. It was like I was so glad that I was awake on Sunday because it was crazy. It was insanity.
I think
from like noon Sunday onward.
Was Sunday the day I went to the moon? That might have been what I was busy doing.
Probably.
Let me look at my receipts.
But I was watching John De La Rosa's channel, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And then I watched EVS came live that night, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this is happening."
Yeah. Yes. Sunday was my grind, and then by Monday morning, I had made it to the moon. So that's what I was doing.
Cool. In Final Fantasy.
Yes.
14.
I made it to the moon.
Nice.
Oh god, that's so
well,
much.
That's all I have to say about that.
So much better than getting dragged into drama. I'd rather just play Final Fantasy.
Oh my god, it's so fun. And
So was Final Fantasy.
I'm sure. But it's like, well, I'll tell you why it's fun for me, because I don't, this may sound bad, but I don't give a shit about any of these people,
Well, they're internet people.
I mean,
like you don't actually know. You don't even actually know me, and we talk way more than you do with any of these people.
Yeah. But I said to someone the other day,
Yeah.
there are like 5 people, other than Peach. There's like 5 other people that I trust implicitly on this planet, and you're one of them. And
I
like
probably
John
don't
Dillard's
deserve
another.
it, but
Well, you are, but I could count the number of people on Earth that I actually, outside of my family, I guess I should say, outside of my family, I can count with one hand the number of people that I actually care about. And here's another one, Pixel Trader. Pixel Trader is another one.
Oh, he definitely deserves it more than I do.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know about that. So it's like you, John Dillard, Pixel Trader, and 2 other people that I can't think of right now off the top of my head.
Well, see, the difference is
Other
I
than
know
that,
myself.
What's that?
I said the difference in my
count
opinion
yourself?
is I know myself.
Oh, yeah. Other than that, everyone else is an internet friend, quote unquote. It's oh, I thought Doug was a nice guy. Turns out he's an asshole. I'm going to go make a sandwich. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was funny to like find out, like, holy crap, I can't believe. Of course I don't trust Gamotron. She's a soulless robot. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and she'll probably want to like stick spoons into you or something. Like we kind of know her mode of operation.
Exactly. Why is my avatar frowning? I was smiling at that.
I don't know.
But yeah, it was in relation to, oh shoot, I don't even remember what it was. But I was telling, all this backstabbing shit.
Yeah.
And I was telling, I don't even remember it. Occasionally you have these conversations where you like wonder who your friends are or whatever, but there's a few people that I don't wonder, where I would actually take you to the airport if you asked. I would actually help you move a couch if you asked. And the rest of these bozos, forget about it.
Yeah.
But yes. I do trust Pixel Trader implicitly as well. I would never backstab him. I promise.
No, I would only front
I don't
stab.
even know. That's right. I would have the respect to at least stab you in your face.
Yeah.
Right in the face. So.
Yeah.
What else is going on for the last 10 minutes?
Let's see. Let's see. Do you want good news, bad news, or what the fuck news?
I don't know. What the fuck sounds interesting.
Okay, so the probably the most interesting thing I could have pulled out of my list of things to talk about is former Fast X director, the like Fast 10, right? Pulls out 1 week into production, and then immediately lines up with a new gig. Justin Lin to direct One Punch Man manga adaptation. So they're going to do a live action adaptation of One Punch Man for Sony Pictures of all things. And I honestly have no idea how to feel this. I don't think it can be good, just because of my like level experience with live action adaptations, and especially knowing what this guy has worked on. But also at the same time, possibly could be good. I don't know. It's such a weird thing to come out of the blue. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Is this going to be a movie or a series?
It just at the moment says live action adaptation for Sony Pictures. it doesn't say if it's going to be a movie or a series.
Weird.
I know. It's very, very early news about it. And again, like, it's just like, what the fuck? This came out of nowhere. Do we really want this? I don't know. If it's like, I think I sent it to you before, or it was taken down and we ended up finding it again later. But these people did like a live action 1-for-1 reenactment of a scene from One Punch Man, and that was really good. If they did something like that, I'd be fine. Like, if you just get those guys involved, I don't care. Just make it look exactly like that. Fantastic, over the top. I don't want my live action stuff to be highly realistic. I want it to be more than realistic. You know, that's actually some of my problem with the direction that DC tried to go with their stuff, with some of the Marvel things. The more fantastic ones, like Guardians of the Galaxy, were the more interesting movies. If we can make it more than realistic, I am interested. If you try to tone down One Punch Man, I'm gone. I'm out before we even get started.
Yeah. I understand that.
But it's weird. Why are we doing this?
I don't know. Did you ever see the live action Attack on Titan?
No, I have not.
It was weird.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
See a bunch of like CGI Titans, and they didn't. I think it was subtitled. At least the one I've heard, the version I saw.
It was probably made in Japan. Now, I have liked the Japanese live action adaptations I've seen, like the ones that are actually made in Japan. Rurouni Kenshin was split into a trilogy. I think those are done really well. You can have your gripes with Funimation, but since they were the ones that dubbed it for an anime, they got the same voice actors back to dub them for the English version of the live action, so everybody sounds the way you expect the voices to sound. Most of the people returned from the Funimation dub of Bleach for the live action Bleach movie made in Japan, and I like that. I have some criticisms, but most of them can be chalked up to they had to try to fit this entire arc into a single hour and a half. I'm like, okay, I understand why you jumped around and did what you did. But like, I thought it was pretty good as a fan of Bleach. So if they do it like the Japanese studios have been doing it, maybe I won't complain. Just don't do it like any of the American studios have tried to make things. Don't make it Dragon Ball Evolution, for the love of God.
No kidding.
Yeah. I'll actually even defend Evolution. I think Dragon Ball Evolution is an okay B movie. Right? Like, if it was a B movie, you stripped all of Dragon Ball away from it, I'd probably give it like a 5.5 out of 10 as a B movie. It is okay. As a Dragon Ball adaptation, it's a piece of shit. But as a standalone B movie, it is okay.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah.
Was that the one? No, I don't know. Who was in that? Anyone I know?
I think they only had one known actor, and it was Chow Yun-fat, and he played Master Roshi. And it was like the most redeemable part of the movie, but I wouldn't necessarily say he played a good Master Roshi. If everything else was the way it was supposed to be, he would be the worst part of the movie. But that's the nature of the movie, where he was the best part.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't sound too good.
Yeah. Oh, I would love a live action Dr. Slump. I just don't think anybody would do it well. I love Arale. She's a great character. But yeah, I don't know. Just no more Dragon Ball Evolution. It still wasn't as bad as an American property getting adapted by an American studio. I don't think anything can be as bad as The Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that either, but I
Don't
heard
waste
enough
your time.
about it. No. Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's not even good as a B movie. And it has higher budget than a B movie, too. See
I've seen the pitch meeting for it. It sounds awful.
it is awful.
But it occurred to me I didn't know if anyone had any questions about the CG drama. Anyone in the chat or you or anyone. But
I do not want to know any more than I already know.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
All right. I was like, I wonder if anyone actually followed any of that.
Yeah.
So fucking complicated. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's like, because even CG, where we started, it doesn't make sense unless you already know about the comic book industry, because the beginning doesn't make sense unless you've been following it. Because people don't know what actually was happening in the industry to make the consumers kind of revolt against it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, my joking start was, well, it all started with Civil War, which some people wouldn't even agree on that. But if you see the trend start there of how they change characters to meet what they'd rather write than the actual story. And then eventually you hit 2011 with the Avengers versus X-Men, or it might be the other way around. I always get the title backwards, where they kind of like changed Carol into Captain Marvel for the first time and like flipped a switch on her personality to where she was a different character. And then that spirals into even more shit coming down by 2014, which is around the Gamergate era. And then everything comes to a head by like 2017, where we're full on. This is kind of like the official start of Comicsgate.
Yeah.
Which it was still kind of going before that, because I remember talking about the shit that led into Comicsgate back in like 2015 and 16 when I was doing this show the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about like the comic book store collapse and watching like your boy Zach's videos and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's
all
just
crazy
so
shit.
much backstory that you have to know to even understand any of the basic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it was entertaining at least. I don't know.
Yeah. Probably not as entertaining as the critically acclaimed Final Fantasy XIV.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, now GMT says the best 3 words to come out of Marvel in the past 10 years: delicious infidel meat. I don't know what that's from, but I disagree. It's internet gas.
Internet gas was
2 words.
entertaining. It tastes like mustard and bigotry was a pretty good one too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And classic Nightcrawler panel where he's eating a hot dog. The sad part is, like, most of that book was drawn horribly, but the actual panel with Nightcrawler eating the hot dog where that quote is from is actually done pretty well. It's a good panel to just like clip out and have that meme of a horribly written line right there.
Like, why does the hot dog taste like bigotry? You buy it from a white guy, or
I'm guessing it was in Central Park. I actually don't remember the crux of that comic, like what the point was, but there was like some rally going on at the park or whatever, and they're like the X-Men are there, and he's taking a bite of like a soubrette hot dog. Which, God, I feel bad for that soubrette. Those are good hot dogs. And he says it tastes like
it wasn't a Nathan. It wasn't a Nathan's.
No, it was pretty long. I'm pretty sure it was a soubrette. Now, obviously, they didn't have the actual branding there because they don't have permission to use it. Once upon a time, I'm sure soubrette would have loved to be in Marvel Comics, but they don't make money, so why would you want to be associated with them?
Was this really in a comic book? Because
yes. Tastes like mustard and bigotry. How do you not remember this? This was like the critical meme panel.
Okay,
see if I can find it for you. Did you find it?
No, I found it here.
Yeah.
It's from Tumblr, so I didn't know if it was real.
Yeah, no, it's real. And that panel, like I said, it's not the best, most well-drawn panel in the world, but it was actually a passable panel compared to like the rest of the book.
I know, it's a good face. Mm-hmm. It's in the general chat if you want to show it.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm on it. I think, I have that Final Fantasy chat up because I was looking at when I hit the moon. Here we go. Yeah. Like I said, like compared to the
Oh, I
rest of the book,
see. Okay.
this is passable. Tastes like mustard and bigotry.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Hmm.
Basically, yeah, there's some bigot who shouts at him and says, something fucking asshole mutant or something like that. And he throws the hot dog uh, at Nightcrawler.
Yeah. And then he eats it.
And Nightcrawler grabs it out of the air. I guess with the help of Jean Grey, maybe. I think she kind of brings it to his hand. And he grabs it and he says, maybe we should program hot dogs into the danger room. And then he takes a bite and he says, tastes like mustard and bigotry. Oh my God.
Yeah, such a meme panel. And the thing is, they made this seriously. Like, this is a joke. I think they even wrote it as a joke, but they weren't writing it like the concept's a joke. They were seriously going like this is a one-liner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be all serious about, bigotry or whatever. But
And this is why nobody buys Marvel comics.
yeah. This is why Comicsgate is a thing.
Yeah. And why the mainstream comic industry is dead and being subsidized by these movies that do too well.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's why you should read a good story like X Dynamis Chaos.
Yeah. Well, everyone should just stop sniping at each other, make good comics, and kill off the mainstream.
Yeah.
So. Oh my gosh! Wait. Hold on. Like when I Googled "tastes like mustard and bigotry," a YouTube. Oh, it's a. Okay, never mind. I thought it was a comic book cut video for a second there.
Oh, okay.
Because a YouTube, no, it's an EVS live stream called EVS and your boy Zach tastes like mustard and bigotry live.
The thing is, that line could have actually been a good line if it was in an older comic or like a well-written one. Because if you're imagining it being said by Kurt Volkner, who is Catholic, right? Like that actually could have been a good line in a different situation. But it's in such a bad book that it's a meme.
Yeah. Apparently, EVS did a 3-hour live stream back in March of 2021 about it.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
hilarious.
We made it to the end.
Yeah.
And your little avatar didn't explode on you, so I think at least it's working for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to use it for this show after today. I think it was just a fun one-time thing. But unfortunately, with Discord, it's too much for my computer.
Yeah. So. That's the problem. Like, Discord is way more resource intensive than it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do have hardware acceleration turned off, right?
Where? On Discord?
In Discord, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, I always turned off because Discord works worse with hardware acceleration for some reason.
No, I have it on.
That might be part of your problem. Not why you experience so many issues.
Oh,
it doesn't benefit.
I can't change it. It'll reboot. So
yeah, you don't want to do that while we're in a call. You do that later.
Yeah.
Cool. Return to TeamSpeak. Yeah, the problem is you have to pay for TeamSpeak if you want to have like a full server. I don't want to do that. Unless you guys want to fund it by donating more to the show, then maybe. But I already pay for a hosting fees as it is. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Enjoying the show. You do still have that as a backup in case you do have a day where you just don't want to show your face.
Yeah, it's funny because I took a shower just before this, so my hair is nice and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
If
You'll see me next time.
Yes, they will see you next time on Saturday when we do this again. Assuming you're canceling. I don't know. I don't have any reason to cancel this week.
Nope.
Yeah, but if you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else who might like it. It helps out more than you know. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitorium live. As I said, it helps with our monthly hosting fees. We are good this month, but a little extra doesn't hurt. I like pizza. I'm sure his avatar likes, I don't know what kangaroos eat, grass. I don't know. but something. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See ya.